The Avengers issue 34 heads back into the past as weeks ago on the banks of the Nile, Mark Specter battles the Konshu acolytes, telling them that they couldn't hide the smell of the moon magic from him. The acolytes call him the betrayer and the defiler, grabbing at him as Mark smashes their bird bone masks up. The beings know that he has seen visions of a legion of super satans and the infinity requiem, as has Khonshu, and what Mark has heard across the seas was a cry of warning from the god. Mark thinks it to be another of the god's tricks, knowing that he's always had his mind played with and he beat the god out of his brain before and he will do it again. Mark races into the temple proper, despite the acolytes saying that this isn't the work of their god. However, Mark rushes inside, calling for Khonshu to show himself. Soon he hears a scream, finding the god cowering in a corner. The being is plagued by visions of moons of melted flesh and screaming stars, telling Mark that he wants to die, pleading with the hero to end his life before Mephisto comes and does it for him. In the present, Mark and Khonshu confront Mephisto in his Las Vegas Hotel Inferno Tower. Mark knows what the devil is planning, but the devil is only interested in finishing his steak, since he likes it fresh before the soul has congealed. Mark says that this will be his last meal, powering up his pendants. Mephisto knows that no one can get into the cell except for Doctor Strange, but Mark knows this, using Strange's stolen magic to disable the magical security measures, confronting the Lord of Hell and telling him that he will never see hell again. The devil blasts hellfire from his mouth, telling the hero that he's not weak despite the prison. Mark knows he isn't weak, revealing that he has been orchestrating events all over the world and he's there to stop the slaughter. Mephisto isn't so sure that he can, as the pendant-covered Mjolnir bursts through his guts, effectively killing the devil. Moon Knight plans on burning the body with Ghost Rider's hellfire and smashing the ashes to atoms with the Iron Fist, and ripping those atoms apart with the enchantments of the Sorcerer Supreme before having Mjolnir scatter it all across the cosmos. Khonshu knows that that won't be the end of the devil, since it doesn't end with this version of him, and there are plenty of others at play, going back 1,000,000 years. Mark knows that he has betrayed all of his friends and stolen their gifts, so what more would the god want from him? Khonshu says that he wants nothing, taking Mjolnir and saying that he will do it himself. 2 weeks later in New Thebes City, formerly the island of Manhattan, Khonshu's mummy acolytes hunt down Spider-Man for failing to grovel in the name of the Night Pharaoh. Moon Knight surveys his new age of Khonshu, knowing that because of his actions against the Avengers, this is the world that he has wrought. In one of the pyramids, the captured Black Panther is ordered to bow, telling the acolytes that he already is, thanks to the binding chains around him. The beings know that he is praying to his god, but there is no other god but Konshu. T'Challa knows that then he prays to Konshu, hoping that he has the dignity to face him instead of hiding behind his followers. The beings know that T'Challa has something their god wants, one of the primordial powers, the spirit of the Panther. As T'Challa tells him to call for their god, the acolytes plan on flogging the hero with moonstones in order to get what they need. However, Mark stops them, telling them all to leave. Talking with T'Challa, Mark tells him to just give up the power and live, since it's the only way the world is saved. T'Challa says that he knows Mark has had brushes with insanity, but he didn't know he was a fool. Mark punches him in the face, asking if that felt like the fist of a fool, but the Panther asks what happened to the wise man who knew when to wield such a fist. Mark becomes angered, saying that he is that man, the same man who killed the devil. He rips his mask off, telling the hero to look him in the eye and tell him what he sees. So T'Challa does, seeing untold cosmic horrors, which Mark knows were the work of Mephisto, or they would have been since he's dead now. T'Challa asks his captor why would Khonshu take the devil's throne for himself and then turn the world into his own personal hell, but Mark says that this is all salvation and the only one they have, since the Avengers weren't going to stop these threats, but if T'Challa joins him, they can end it all once and for all. Mark threatens to bring the acolytes back into the room, and T'Challa knows it's because he's a coward and can't do the work himself, but Mark knows that he doesn't need a whip to make the Black Panther bleed. T'Challa says the magical pendant would do as Mark removes it, interrupted by one of his men, who tell him the fugitive Captain America has been sighted. T'Challa tries to appeal to Mark, telling him that even if he's right, this isn't the way to save the world and he needs to confront Khonshu about all of this. Mark says that he's not blind to what's happening, knowing thanks to Khonshu and his faith, he is far from blind. Powering up the Ghost Rider powers, Mark speeds off in the Hell Charger, knowing that he can only use the Spirit of Vengeance for short periods as it slowly burns him from the inside out. The acolytes meanwhile confront T'Challa, intending on completing their torture of their hero, but Black Panther smashes his way out of the chains, battling the men who call for more priests to help. help. Meanwhile, in the Sahara Desert, Tony's makeshift base is raided by Khonshu's mummies. Carol tells Tony it's his turn to escape with the Star Brand child, but Iron Man refuses to leave, knowing they aren't tearing this family apart. So with the child strapped to his armor, Iron Man and Captain Marvel battle the zombie horde as the last known Avengers on Earth. The Avengers issue 34 was a real fun continuation of the Moon Knight story that offered up some surprising developments in Mark's story, particularly that there is a time jump and the hero has managed to take over the world with Konshu. I just love that this isn't just some large scale event with massive tie-ins or anything. It totally could have been, yet it's being played out as kind of like a run-of-the-mill every other week Avengers issue, and I really appreciate Jason Aaron for doing just that, where I imagine there probably were talks about this becoming a new big event. I'm really liking this OP version of Moon Knight, and his talks with Black Panther were really great, hammering home the fact that Mark is completely sane here and doing things the Avengers don't really have the guts to do. So I am eagerly looking forward to the next continuation of this story. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10.